Check, check, 1, 2, check it out. All right, guys. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I hope you spent some great time with your family and loved ones. And so here we go, right? So the next day, here I am at home, just going over some things. Today was one of those days that shouldn't even trade because it's obviously being manipulated by the algorithm. So uh, what I want to go over is the bigger picture, and we need to analyze what the bigger picture is, what the next step is here. So as you guys can see, I always focus on the cross right here on the down. Do you see the last box right down here, right? This last box is called stochastics full. And when I go to the daily chart, this is the NASDAQ. This is the NDX. So you'll see it right up here, NDX. And so the NASDAQ is now showing us signs of finally weakness, and you see the cross of the stochastics right down here, right? So you're gonna see the red line crossing the purple, and the next step for this to start gaining some momentum is going to be to get this red line across to down on this blue line right here. So that blue line sits at 80 or 79 and change. So once we cross below that line, you could go back in time and see what happens. So we got the cross of the stochastics, and from here we ended up pulling back. So I just want to point out, obviously, that we also had one arrow, one yellow arrow here. Now I'm going to zoom in into this just so we can get a better picture. And so looks like this, right? Okay, so we can see, and I'm just going to guide you through it, I guess. That way I don't have to be going back and forth here. But what I want you to pay attention to is, for example, this cross right here. This was on September 4th, and so if I go up from here, if I move my screen, from here, September 4th, here is your drop. You had a yellow arrow right here, which indicated that this was losing momentum. Sometimes you get a blue arrow, sometimes you get a purple one. In this case, you are getting a purple arrow up here 2 days ago, two sessions ago, telling you that we are already losing momentum. The reason why you are getting that is because you are getting the MACD starting to cool off. So there's your first arrow there. So that's one part happening right here. The other thing, what happens on the NASDAQ is that we have had the awesome oscillator green. All this part has been green for this whole time, and we are finally getting some weakness. You can see it's very minimal because it's been a couple of sideways days, and you're gonna see it in the charts as a doji. So dojis are signs of indecision, or that is showing you that it's losing steam. You also see the MACD here is also losing steam for the past couple of sessions. You had the first red bar here on the awesome oscillator. The next one was green, but it's a smaller bar than the previous one, and the next day is also flat. So you're seeing some weakness here. It's not time to completely celebrate just yet, because when you go and move this thing to the weekly chart, which I'm going to do right now, and you move it to the weekly chart, the weekly chart tells you that the stochastics is at extreme, and you guys can see it right here. So the stochastics is at extreme, and usually when you see stochastics at extreme, like in this case on the weekly chart, we tend to pull back. So I'm going to go back, and again I'm going to show you here, this peak right here was in August, and you had the signal here where we dropped down there, right? So we are seeing some weakness. We are seeing the stochastics actually at extremes. You can see another stochastic here at extreme, and when I'm going to go up, I'm going to go up on it, and we end up I believe you can see it right here. Look, stochastic right here. There's this one extreme that I was showing, and the next extreme that I was showing is this one, right? So the next thing here is going to be to go up, right? We'll go up on the screen, so I'm going to move it, and we go up from that peak, and you're going to see that we had a drop right there. So I'm going to zoom it out so you guys can be able to see a little bit better of what I'm trying to show you. I'm trying to zoom in so you can see better, but I think the overall picture is going to be seen this way better. So let's do that. Okay, so on the weekly, you can see that every time we reach extremes, like in this case up here, you see where my cursor is down here, you had this red line that it started to curve, and then once it curved, it started heading down. So it took about about 2 weeks heading down after reaching the extreme. So we are, if you scroll to the right, we are right here right now. So the next thing that we need on the weekly is the rollover, right? So once it starts rolling over, passing the blue line to the downside, that's when you start getting a confirmed pullback. Right now, the pullback is not confirmed, and there is nothing set in stone. This market can continue higher. If you look at the bigger picture and on the daily charts, it looks like we can complete a little bit higher, right? A little bit higher. I'm thinking all the way to the top of the Fibonacci to complete the whole pattern. Now, that being said, we are getting some evidence of weakness here. Now, as you can see, for example, back in the day right here, the Awesome Oscillator started turning red, and he told you that we were gonna head down. It started coming down, as you can see, it started coming down. We don't have those red bars on the oscillator just yet. It seems that it's just the beginning of it, and as you know, we don't try to catch the very top because it usually ends up biting us in the ass. So what do we do from here is, all we do is we are going to be patient, and we're gonna see if this pattern is going to develop and confirm. I can tell you right now that this beginning of the stochastics rolling over is a good thing indeed, right? So let's go look at now the SPX. So SP 500, and we're going to see that we have the same exact thing. The stochastics has not rolled over just yet, but it is flattening, and it's been flat for a couple of days now, since November 6th. It's been kind of grinding sideways. Now, that being said, last time we crossed, I'll show you down here. I'll show you this one, for example. Last time, the red line crossed the blue line and the purple line. So obviously it's going to cross the purple line first and then followed by the blue line. We ended up having a nice pullback, right? So we are here. We don't have that confirmation just yet because, as you know, we can continue going a little bit higher like we did here, and then eventually roll over. Now, we're going to be patient and wait for that moment. Now, what we're going to do here is the following. Okay, so that's for the SPX. As we can see, the Awesome Oscillator is extended, and we haven't rolled over just yet, but the MACD is cooling off here. So other things that we got to look at is what is going to bring this market higher. As we know, they've been using Apple, they've been using Nvidia and all these other things to be able to push the markets. I can tell you right now that you can see the MACD on the daily charts on Apple is weakening right here. You also have the first red oscillated bar, and you also have the stochastics crossing to the downside right here. Finally crossing. I was waiting for this cross to see if Apple can go dump below that blue line. You're gonna see a nice pullback on Apple. So the pullback can come somewhere to the 20, perhaps it's a 185, 184 or so, or the 40 at 181. Or the next stop is 180, somewhere between 180 and 178. That's where the 50 movement average is at. And so it would make sense that it would pull back somewhere in there and a continuation higher for a rally if that's what's going to happen. Sometimes everybody expects a rally and it just doesn't come. So we will see if this is going to happen this time. So another thing that can push the markets, and they have made it clear that they're going to use it to be able to push these markets, is Nvidia. And guys, Nvidia, it's already rolled over, as you guys can see right down here. The stochastics already rolled, and the Awesome Oscillator is already red, 3 bars in it, and you have the MACD that is about to roll over. It's about to give you a sell signal on the daily. If you look at the weekly charts, and I just want to focus on them on the stochastics, once again, is at extremes, and when it is at extremes, it likes to roll over, just like it did here. It was at extremes, it ended up rolling over. You ended up having a nice pullback. So on the stochastics, I only look at the weekly just for that. So I just show you that on the daily, the MACD is cooling off, the Awesome Oscillator is giving you a sell signal and this stochastics already rolled over. Now, um, can they continue picking it up? Yes, of course they can. You can see right here, if you see an example right here, you had a stochastics rollover right there, and you had a drop from $465 down to $396. Now, I know it doesn't look like much, but if you are trading this and you are looking for one nice pullback, maybe down to the $435, you're making money. It can also come down all the way to the 150, which is the place where it's been bouncing from at $416 or so. So Nvidia is running out of steam. Apple is running out of steam. Is Google running out of steam? Because I saw Google pull back today, and Google is also at extremes on the stochastics here, ready to roll over. And you have the MACD also cooling off. The awesome oscillator is very small on Google, so it's not much to talk about here. You do have a 2040 cross, so it is bullish in the intermediate term, but for now it looks like it's getting weaker along with the volume, as we can see here, along as with every other stock that we just mentioned. So another thing that they've been using, they haven't been using Meta for a long time. In fact, I don't think haven't been pushing that. Their favorite is obviously Apple and Nvidia. Those are the two big ones, so it's easier to move the markets with those, and because the rest is tech, it likes to follow. So what we have here is the same situation. You have the stochastics rolling over. It's already crossed here, whether we like it or not. For whoever thinks that it can continue, you see it already crossed down here. So it's a matter of time when it starts piercing through the blue line right here and it starts actually heading back down. You have Meta at $342.92. That's the new high, and it's basically at all-time highs. If you look at the past, not all-time highs, but if you look at the past 3 years, we are at the highest point. The highest it's ever been is $384, and we know that at $384, this thing was overbought, and it was not a good buy back in the day. So why would it be a good buy now? It beats me, right? That's the part I don't understand, how people can think that if at this point this thing was overbought and was crazy overpriced, even before the whole metaverse crap started. I don't see how all of a sudden you can think that the metaverse is going to make this thing to go higher than it should. That's beyond my imagination, but perhaps I'm wrong, and perhaps I am missing a beautiful opportunity. I'm going to leave that to you, but I will not be part of that quote unquote opportunity. So I think that here you have this channel that has been respecting, and if you zoom into the daily candles, you are still in that channel, you are still in it. So it is a possibility that you are being rejected at the middle of the channel and do a pullback here once again, 293 or so. So this is all speculation. Obviously this can continue to run if it likes to run higher. Whatever plans the market maker has to run this thing higher, it's beyond me. None of us know what's going to happen. But another thing that we have to look at is, for example, the Amazon, the amazing Amazon, because Amazon is at $147.74, and this is also a high. So once again, you have a new high since we had the bottom at $81.43. You will likely be as sad as I am, because I owned Amazon down here at that green line at $80, $81.43 or so. I had bought it at that green line, and I had a nice run up, sold it somewhere in between. Probably should have kept it. We will see later if I made the right choice or not. But Amazon also at extremes. Stochastics down here already at extremes, and when you start looking at the daily to be able to look at the rest of the indicators, it shows us that we already crossed right here. So the stochastics already crossed on the daily. You are already making lower bars on the awesome oscillator. I know it's not much, but when they drop us slowly. They stay at the top, they linger at the top, and they end up giving us the pullback later on when nobody's watching. So they like to do this. You have the MACD also about to give you a sell signal, so that's something to be paying attention to. So guys, the last thing that I want to look at is the VIX. The VIX, I want to tell you that we are at a low at 12.45 today. I also want to point out that when I look at the 20-year and weekly chart on the VIX, sorry, I don't want to go to the weekly. I want to go to the monthly here. So I want to go to the monthly just to show you that the VIX tends to go, the lowest it's ever gone is 856, right? 856. Now that's the lowest we ever were. Now that's in 2017. Now in 2017. Now I tell you that if you pay attention, this is a 20-year chart. Look, the stochastics down here is already crossing to the upside. It wants to go across to the upside. What happens when it crosses to the upside? This right here. You see the bottom of this? Well, when it crossed that blue line, we had a nasty spike up. Here, we crossed the blue line. It was a slower reaction, but it still went up. So if you want to go and look at every single thing, every time that this crosses the blue line, we have a spike. Now that being said, I'm going to start zooming in now. I'm going to look at the weekly chart. The weekly chart is already at extremes. Same as I told you that the rest of the stocks are at extremes at the top. You had the VIX at extremes at the bottom. Now, if this thing starts turning, it has not started to turn yet. If it turns upwards, you're going to see it come across this blue line at 19.4, whatever this blue line is, and then you're going to start seeing a move to the upside. Now, last time it tried, it went here, look, it failed, it went flat, and it went for it again. And it went for it again. When it went from 14.59 all the way to 30. And that was a pullback in the markets. Now, what I can tell you is that right now you are at extremes on the VIX, on the weekly, when I'm looking at stochastics. That's great. Next thing, on the daily. The daily tells us that you have been at extremes for the past couple of sessions as well. And although it has not been showing you upside just yet, whenever it does, you're going to start seeing it cross. It hasn't happened yet. Maybe it's next week. Maybe it's not. But that's what I want to point out to you is that there is support in this line right here that I am now going to make green just to make things differently. And if you can remount that green line right here, if you can remount that green line, you are going to get a wick at this candle. Or, well, if you look at the weekly, but on the daily, you won't have a wick, but you will have a green candle that pushes up and it gets above that level. Now, at 12.86, it is that support what we've had for this whole time. Look, bunch of times it hits that line and it bounces, comes back, bounces, comes back, and this time we are again at a new low. Is it possible that we are going to do maybe one or two more down and then remount real fast right above that green line? Or are we done and do we start on Monday? We will see. This is it'll surely be interesting because the MACD here is now recovering. It's now recovering. And this is not showing us signs of reversal just yet. So we gotta be more patient. If I keep zooming in, and if I go to the 180 days 4-hour chart, we already turned green on the Awesome Oscillator a couple of sessions ago. So it will be the day before we already turned green, which means that this is already trying to recover. Will it fully recover? This is something we will find out. But for now, we got to be very patient. Right now, things are not completed just yet. We're going to go to look at one more thing, which is Tesla. I'm going to go to the daily chart so we can see the bigger picture. And we have this new channel that I drew here. This new channel, it's a small bearish trending channel. That this is the top at 299. This is the bottom. Hits that purple line, and that purple line has been acting as a support. So what is it doing? Good observation. It's one line that comes from here, pierces all the way over here, and then there's a flat line right here. What is that? That's a falling triangle. Falling triangles usually break to the upside. Now, if that's the case, you will need to have this channel broken to the upside to be able to say that we are now going to this area, $300. It is possible. But in the meantime, again, the stochastics is already at extremes, and it seems like it wants to cross to the downside. A pullback here to the middle of the channel and then breaking up above would make sense. It can also go one more time to the purple line, and I can tell you, if it does that, it's going to be a buying opportunity because that purple line has been a major support. And if it can support there one more time, you're going to start seeing Tesla gaining more strength. All right, guys, that's it for me. I think I made my point. The truth of the matter is that we got to wait and see where the market is going to go. If we try to time the stop, we're going to continue to get our faces ripped off. See you guys in the next episode of Getting Your Face Ripped.